The southeastern United States may look peaceful, but it hides some of the scariest places in the country. From haunted swamps to ghost-filled mansions, every corner has a chilling tale. Spirits of the past still wander, whispering their stories through the night. Get ready to explore some of the most haunted places that will leave you with goosebumps. Number 1. The Bell Witch Cave in Adams, Tennessee, is one of the scariest places in America. It's linked to a famous ghost story that dates back to the early 1800s. The story starts with the Bell family, who lived on a farm near the cave. Strange things began happening: knocking sounds, whispering voices, and even physical attacks. The ghost, known as the Bell Witch, seemed to especially hate John Bell, the father. He was slapped, pinched, and even became sick for no reason. People believe the spirit caused his death in 1820. One story tells of a family who visited the cave and laughed at the legend. As they explored, a rock was thrown at them from the darkness. No one else was there. Later, their camera stopped working, and when they left, the car wouldn't start until they apologized out loud to the Bell Witch. Another story comes from a girl who visited on a trip. She touched one of the rocks in the cave and took a small one home. After that, she had nightmares every night and kept hearing someone whisper her name. She returned the rock weeks later, and the strange things stopped. A man once spent the night near the cave, trying to prove the legend was fake. But during the night, he heard footsteps walking in circles around his tent and a voice repeating, "Leave now." He packed up and left in the middle of the night. Many people believe the Bell Witch still lives in the cave, watching anyone who enters. Number 2. Bonaventure Cemetery in Savannah, Georgia, is one of the most beautiful cemeteries in the country, but it also has a dark and haunted side. The cemetery is over 170 years old and sits under giant oak trees covered in Spanish moss. While many come here to admire the peaceful beauty, others visit because of the ghost stories. With thousands of graves, many believe that not all the spirits are resting peacefully. One of the most famous ghosts is a little girl named Gracie Watson. She died of pneumonia when she was only 6 years old. Her grave has a life-size statue of her, and people say they've seen the statue crying real tears. Visitors have also heard a child's laughter and footsteps running through the cemetery when no one is around. A group walking through the cemetery one night heard organ music coming from a nearby grave. There was no one else around, and the sound slowly faded away as they moved closer. Others have felt cold spots and sudden chills even on hot summer days. One woman said she felt someone brush past her, but she was alone. When she looked at the photo she had taken a moment before, a faint white figure could be seen standing near a tombstone. There are also stories of people hearing whispers, like someone calling their name. When they turn to look, no one is there. Bonaventure Cemetery may look peaceful and quiet, but many believe it's filled with ghosts from Savannah's past. Number 3. The Crescent Hotel in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, is often called America's most haunted hotel, and for good reason. It first opened in 1886 as a luxury resort, but over the years, it became many different things, including a college, a hospital, and finally, a hotel again. The most haunted time in its history was in the 1930s, when a man named Norman Baker turned it into a hospital. He claimed he could cure cancer, but he had no medical license. Many patients died painful deaths under his care, and some believe their spirits never left the building. One ghost seen often is a man in a white doctor's coat who appears in the basement, where Baker kept his strange lab. A tourist once saw the figure standing in a doorway, then watched him vanish into thin air. The basement still gives off a creepy feeling, and people often report hearing strange noises and whispers. Guests staying in room 218 often report loud bangs, footsteps, and voices. A man staying there said his bathroom door opened and closed all night, even though no wind or drafts were present. Some believe this room is haunted by a stonemason who died during the original construction. Another guest felt someone sit on the edge of her bed while she was reading. When she looked up, no one was there, but the mattress was clearly sunken down. Lights flicker, cold spots appear, and items move on their own at the Crescent Hotel. With a history full of sadness, mystery, and death, It's no surprise many believe the spirits of the past still walk the halls of this grand and haunted place. Number 4. The Sorrelweed House in Savannah, Georgia, is one of the city's most haunted places. Built in the 1840s, it is a large and beautiful mansion with a dark past. It once belonged to Francis Sorrel, a wealthy man who lived there with his family and many enslaved people. Many people believe the spirits of those who suffered there still remain inside the house, making it a hotspot for ghost activity. One of the most talked about ghosts is Matilda Sorrel, Francis's wife. It's said she died by suicide after finding out about her husband's affair with an enslaved woman named Molly. Visitors have seen the ghost of a woman in a long dress standing in the upstairs window, and some have heard the sound of crying in the master bedroom. A tourist once said she felt someone tug at her skirt while walking through the hallway. She turned around, but no one was there. Her friend said she saw a shadowy hand reach out from a doorway right before that happened. People also say they've seen a man in a black coat appear in the garden and walk toward the house before disappearing into thin air. Some believe this could be Francis Sorrel himself. In the basement, which was once used for storage and possibly as living space for enslaved people, visitors have reported sudden cold spots, feelings of fear, and the sound of chains rattling. One guest even fainted after feeling something touch her neck. The spirits here seem to want their stories told, and they make sure people don't forget what happened within those haunted walls. Number 5. Chrétien Point Plantation in Sunset, Louisiana, is known not only for its deep southern history, but also for its ghostly secrets. Built in 1835, this old plantation saw both wealth and violence. But what makes this place truly chilling is the ghost of the former mistress who still seems to watch over the house. Stories say she once shot and killed an outlaw who tried sneaking into the house late at night. People say her spirit still guards the staircase, and the outlaw's ghost is also trapped there, forever tied to that deadly night. Visitors have seen a woman in a long black dress standing at the top of the stairs, looking down with serious eyes. One man said he was pushed while walking up the staircase, and no one was near him. He believed it was the outlaw's angry ghost. Others have heard gunshots in the middle of the night, even though there's no one outside. A couple staying nearby heard the shots and then saw a flash of light inside the old house, like a gun firing. A worker once saw a shadowy figure move across the porch and vanish into the wall. He thought it was a prank, until the same shadow appeared again the next night at the same time. Inside the house, some people have heard footsteps walking down the hallway when the house was completely empty. A young girl on a tour said she saw a cowboy man with no eyes standing by the back door. She cried and refused to go back inside. Chrétien Point may be beautiful and peaceful from the outside, but its haunted history lives on. Number 6. The McCraven House in Vicksburg, Mississippi, is often called the most haunted house in the state. Built in the late 1700s and added onto over the years, this old home has seen a lot of history. It was used as a hospital during the Civil War, and many believe the spirits of those who lived and died there still remain, making McCraven House a place full of mystery and ghostly activity. One of the most well-known spirits is Mary Elizabeth Howard, a young woman who died in the house shortly after childbirth in the 1830s. Visitors say they have seen a woman in a long white dress standing by the window in her old bedroom. Some have felt sudden cold air near the room or heard soft crying when no one is around. A tour guide once said he saw a soldier in a Civil War uniform walk through the hallway. He thought it was part of a reenactment, but the figure vanished right in front of him. One guest reported seeing dishes fly off the kitchen shelves by themselves. No one was near them, and there was no shaking or wind. It was as if someone invisible was angry and wanted attention. There's also the ghost of a man who was murdered on the property in the 1800s. People believe his angry spirit still haunts the outside grounds. Visitors have seen shadows moving through the yard and felt watched near the front steps. The McCraven House may look peaceful from the outside, but its haunted history makes it one of the scariest places in Mississippi. The spirits inside seem to be holding on, sharing their stories in chilling ways. Number 7. The Bellamy Mansion in Wilmington, North Carolina, is a beautiful historic home built in the 1800s but many believe it's also one of the most haunted places in the state. The mansion was once home to the wealthy Bellamy family and their enslaved workers. Over the years, the house saw sickness, death, and even a fire. Because of the sad and difficult events that happened there, many visitors and workers have experienced strange and unexplainable things. One of the most common ghost stories is about the spirit of an enslaved woman who is seen near the old servant quarters. A tour guide once saw a shadowy figure walking through the hallway, but when he followed, there was no one there. An older man in a suit is sometimes seen standing at the top of the staircase. He looks like someone from the 1800s and usually disappears when someone tries to speak to him. One guest took a photo of the stairs and later saw the image of a man who wasn't there during the visit. Lights in the mansion turn on and off by themselves, and doors sometimes open slowly with no wind or people around. A volunteer cleaning one of the rooms said she heard a deep sigh behind her, but she was alone in the house. The Bellamy mansion may be full of beauty and history, but its walls also hold many secrets. From ghostly voices to shadowy figures, the spirits here seem to remind us that the past is never truly gone. Number 8. The Old Talbot Tavern in Bardstown, Kentucky, is one of the oldest buildings in the state and one of the most haunted. Built in the late 1700s, it has served as a stagecoach stop, an inn, a restaurant, and a place where many famous people have stayed, including Jesse James. Many believe the spirits of the past still linger in the old wooden walls, making this charming place full of ghostly activity. One of the most well-known ghost stories comes from a room where Jesse James once stayed. A guest saw a man in old Western clothes standing by the fireplace. He looked real at first, but then vanished without a sound. Some people have even noticed mysterious bullet holes in the wall, said to be made by Jesse himself after seeing a ghost. A woman staying in one of the upstairs rooms said she woke up in the middle of the night to see a dark figure standing at the foot of her bed. It didn't move or speak, it just stared at her. When she turned on the light, it was gone. There are also reports of furniture moving by itself. One visitor walked into the dining room and saw a chair slide away from the table on its own. One woman visiting with her child said her daughter started talking to someone who wasn't there. When asked who she was talking to, the little girl said, "The lady in the long dress." No one else had seen a woman like that. From ghostly cowboys to unknown voices and invisible footsteps, the Old Talbot Tavern is full of spooky stories. Number 9. The West Virginia Penitentiary in Moundsville is one of the most haunted places in the United States. This large, Gothic-style prison opened in 1876 and closed in 1995. Over the years, it held some of the most dangerous criminals in the state. It was known for overcrowding, violence, and poor living conditions. More than 90 men were executed there, and hundreds more died from fights, illness, or suicide. With so much pain and death inside its walls, many believe the spirits of former inmates still haunt the prison today. One ghost story tells of a man who was murdered in the Sugar Shack, a recreation room deep in the basement. People who visit that area say they feel cold air, even in the summer. Some have heard footsteps, voices, or even growls in the darkness. Another story comes from the North Hall, which held the worst inmates. One visitor said he heard loud banging and screaming from one of the empty cells. When he looked inside, there was no one there, but the metal bed was shaking. A former guard who came back for a tour said he saw the ghost of a man he knew had died during a prison fight. The figure was standing at the end of the hallway, staring at him before disappearing. One woman said she was pushed while walking through the execution area. She felt two hands on her back, but there was no one behind her. Her friends saw her stumble forward and were shocked. Lights flicker, doors slam, and ghostly voices call out in the night. The West Virginia Penitentiary may be empty now, but many believe the souls of those who suffered there still remain, angry, lost, and unwilling to leave. Number 10. The Riddle House in West Palm Beach, Florida, is a beautiful old house. Built in the early 1900s, it was first used as a funeral home and later became the home of Carl Riddle, the city's first city manager. Many people believe the house is cursed because of all the death and sadness connected to it. One of the most famous ghost stories is about a man named Joseph, who worked at the house and later took his own life in the attic. People say his spirit never left. Workers have heard footsteps above them when no one is upstairs, and others have seen a shadow moving across the attic window from outside. A construction worker once said he was attacked while fixing part of the roof. His tools were thrown at him by an unseen force, and he refused to go back to the house. One woman visiting the house said she saw a man standing at the top of the stairs in old-fashioned clothes. When she looked away for a second and turned back, he was gone. She later saw a portrait of Carl Riddle and said it looked just like the man she had seen. There are also stories of a crying woman who appears near the front windows late at night. A neighbor said he saw her more than once, standing there in a long dress with her hands pressed against the glass. The Riddle house has frightened many who enter. It may look calm from the outside, but inside the past is very much alive, and some spirits seem to be trapped there forever. Number 11. Hales Bar Dam in Guild, Tennessee, is known for its creepy atmosphere and ghost stories. Built in the early 1900s on land that once belonged to Native American tribes, the dam had problems from the very beginning. It was built on top of sacred land and limestone, which caused constant leaks and accidents. Many workers died during construction, and some people believe the dam was cursed. Even after it was shut down in the 1960s, strange things continued to happen. Today, the old dam is a popular spot for ghost hunters who believe spirits still haunt the ruins. A group of paranormal investigators once captured the sound of heavy boots walking across the upper level, even though the team was all standing still. They also recorded a low growling noise that seemed to come from inside the walls. One woman said she felt her hair being pulled while walking near the old power room. She thought it was a bug at first, but then it happened again, and she heard someone whisper "go" in her ear. Cold spots are often felt around the tunnels, even in summer. People have reported hearing distant screams and feeling sudden pressure in their chest, as if something invisible was standing too close. The mix of history, tragedy, and ghostly activity makes it one of Tennessee's most haunted places. Number 12. The Martha Washington Inn in Abingdon, Virginia, is a lovely old building with a long and rich history. Built in 1832, it has served as a private home, a school for girls, a Civil War hospital, and now a hotel. Because of everything that happened there, especially during the Civil War, many believe the spirits of the past still linger in its quiet halls, showing up when people least expect it. One of the most well-known ghost stories is about a young nurse who cared for wounded soldiers during the Civil War. She is often seen walking through the halls with a lantern, as if she's still looking after patients. One guest said they saw her pass right by their room late at night, only to disappear into a wall. Another guest staying on the upper floor said he heard a violin playing softly in the hallway, but no one was there. The music continued for a few minutes, then stopped suddenly. Later, he learned that a student who once lived at the inn loved to play violin before she died suddenly of illness. A cleaning lady reported feeling someone tap her on the shoulder while she was working alone in a guest room. She turned around quickly, but no one was there. A few minutes later, the lights flickered and the door slammed shut on its own. One couple said their bathroom faucet kept turning on by itself throughout the night. They also heard someone whispering in the corner of their room, though they couldn't understand what was being said. From ghostly nurses to mysterious music and shadows in the night, this historic inn reminds everyone that the past is never truly gone. Number 13. The Baker Peters House in Knoxville, Tennessee, is a beautiful old building with a tragic past. Built in the 1840s, it was once the home of Dr. Harvey Baker, a Southern supporter during the Civil War. When Union soldiers entered Knoxville, they raided the house and shot Dr. Baker inside his own home. Later, it's said that his son, Abner Baker, returned and took revenge by killing a Union soldier. Because of all this violence and loss, many believe the house is still haunted by the spirits of those who suffered there. People have reported seeing the ghost of Dr. Baker standing in the upstairs windows. One driver said he saw the figure late at night, but when he looked again, the window was empty. A worker at the restaurant that now occupies the house said she heard footsteps upstairs when the place was closed. She went to check but found no one. The sounds continued as if someone was pacing back and forth above her. A guest saw a door slowly open by itself and then slam shut a few seconds later. There was no wind or draft, and the door had been locked before. It scared her so much she left early. There are also stories of lights flickering and objects moving on their own. A man once saw a glass slide across the bar without anyone touching it. He said it looked like invisible hands were playing a trick. The Baker Peters house may be full of charm and history, but its haunted past continues to make people wonder if some spirits are still holding on to the pain of long ago. Number 14. The Exchange Hotel in Gordonsville, Virginia, is a small but very haunted place with a long and emotional history. Built in the 1860s, it first served as a hotel for travelers passing through by train. But during the Civil War, thousands of men were treated here, and many died from injuries, disease, or infections. Some say the pain and sadness from that time still remain in the building. A young woman who visited the hotel said she heard soft crying in one of the old hospital rooms. When she followed the sound, the room was empty, but the crying continued for a few seconds before stopping completely. Several people have said they saw the ghost of a nurse wearing a long dress and white cap. She is known to appear near the old patient beds and seems to be checking on invisible soldiers. One man said he felt a cold hand touch his forehead while he stood near the old operating table. In the basement, which once stored the dead before burial, people have reported feeling sick or dizzy. One visitor said the air felt heavy, and he could hear whispering voices all around him. Many believe the spirits of the wounded soldiers and hardworking nurses never truly left, and they still haunt the hotel to this day. Number 15. Eastern State Hospital in Lexington, Kentucky, is one of the oldest mental health hospitals in the United States. It first opened in 1824 and was meant to help people with mental illnesses. But over the years, the hospital became known for its dark and painful past. In the early days, treatments were harsh. Many people died here, and some were even buried on the hospital grounds. Because of all this suffering, many believe the hospital is deeply haunted. One night, a security guard walking through the old buildings heard someone screaming for help. He rushed to the room, but no one was there. He said the voice was clear and desperate, like someone in pain. One man who visited the hospital for research said he felt cold air wrap around him in a warm room. He also heard heavy breathing behind him, even though he was alone. When he turned around, he saw a shadow move across the wall, but there was no one there. A cleaning lady refused to return after she was locked in a room by an unseen force. She said the door slammed shut behind her and wouldn't open, even though it wasn't locked. She heard laughter on the other side of the door until it finally opened on its own. Some visitors report seeing lights flicker and hearing old-fashioned music playing from empty rooms. One group even heard the sound of crying children, though no children were in the building. Eastern State Hospital has changed over the years, but the spirits from its dark history may still be inside. The voices, shadows, and strange sounds remind everyone who visits that some pain never truly leaves.